Now, prior to June 12th, 1994, would it be fair to say that you had a good relationship with the LA Police Department?
I had a good relationship with everybody.
Okay, but I'm asking you specifically with the Los Angeles Police Department.
Well, that assumes he has a relationship with the LA Police Department, and I don't have one, and I don't know that anybody has a relationship with the police department. Well, so I think it assumes facts not in evidence, or without foundation, and instruct him not to answer the question.
Okay, well, do you recall the book, I Want to Tell You?
Yes.
Okay, do you recall a picture in there of someone with the Los Angeles Police Department hat on?
Maybe my son might have had an LAPD cap in a picture.
Do you know where he got it from?
I can only guess. AC or Ron Ship.
Okay. And do you recall in your book, I Want to Tell You, discussing your relationship with the Los Angeles Police Department at all?
I might have, but I had no relationship with them. I didn't know anyone on the force at that time, so I didn't have a relationship with them.
So if you indicated at some point that you had a good relationship with the LA Police Department prior to June 12, 1994, there was no basis for that statement?
The basis in that I had a good relationship with the LA Fire Department. I didn't know anybody on the LA Fire Department, but I assume I had a good relationship with them. So it would be along those lines. I mean, I didn't know anyone with the LA Police Department. I didn't know anyone with the LA Police Department. I don't think I knew any Marines, but I always go out of my way to be nice to them. And even since I've been out of jail, if they show up at my house for autographs, I give them autographs. So I didn't know anyone there. To say I was personal with them, I always like to think I'm on good terms with authority, yes.
Well, did you ever support the Los Angeles Police Department?
I support them now.
Was there any time you didn't support the Los Angeles Police Department?
Emotionally, after some of the things that happened in this trial, for a period of time, emotionally, I blamed the whole force, but now I don't.
Okay, but prior to June 12, 1994, did you support the LA Police Department?
Yes, and I still do.
Okay. And you had no reason before June 12, 1994 to think the Los Angeles Police Department didn't support you, did you?
Well, I don't know that there's that presupposes a whole bunch of things that I don't think he would have any way of knowing.
Yeah.
It calls for speculation, instruct him not to answer.
Okay. There was a time that police officers came to your house when you had a bat in your hands. Do you recall that?
When they came, I don't think I had it in my hand, but there was a time when, after an incident, they came to my house, yes.
Okay, do you recall what year that was?
I think 84.
Okay, and do you recall the name of any of the police officers that came to your house at that time?
I think it was only one, and he was only there for like 30 seconds or so, and I don't think he introduced himself. And that was it.
Well, as you sit here today, do you know who that police officer was that came in 1984?
Today, I'm told it was Mark Furman.
Okay, that's Detective Furman.
Yes.
Okay. And when he came there in 1984, he did not file a police report, did he?
But there was nothing for him to do. As he testified in court on cross-examination, there was nothing for him to do. There was no reason for him to be there at that time, and he left. So there was no report to file. There was nothing for him to do. If you look at his testimony, he testified to that. So.
Okay. Is your answer, no, he did not file a police report?
I don't know what he did. I really don't.
Okay.
I know there was no reason for him to be there, and he realized that and left.
Okay, well, he didn't come on your property because he heard the bat hitting the car, did he?
And he didn't come on our property because anybody on my property called him.
Do you know how he...
Go ahead.
Do you know how he had occasion to show up at your property?
No.
And what property was this at?
Rockingham.
Okay, and that's what the gate to the Rockingham entrance?
We didn't keep the gate closed in those days.
Okay, was this a marked police car he showed up in?
I never saw it. They were outside the gate.
Did he walk up the driveway?
I believe so. I just saw him in the front yard at one point.
And you never called the police?
No.
Nicole never called the police?
No.
Was Michelle working there at that time?
Yes.
Do you know if Michelle called the police?
She didn't know.
And he just showed up on your property, Detective Furman, after that incident.
Yes.
And how long after you broke the windshield did Detective Furman show up on your property?
Half hour, maybe.
Okay. And were you still out front with Nicole at that time?
We had just walked outside. I just walked outside because a West Tech guy had come and was leaving, and I walked outside. And then Nicole came outside.
And why was the West Tech person there if you knew?
Because Nicole hit a button for West Tech.
Do you know whether West Tech called the police?
No, I don't know.
Okay. West Tech is a security company?
Yes.
Okay. And how long after the West Tech person arrived did Detective Furman arrive?
The West Tech guy came. He was there for about a minute, and as he was leaving, I believe someone came up, and which I'm told now was Detective Furman. He stayed for about 30 seconds, and he left.
Okay. Did he look at the cracked windshield?
If you have any idea what...
I don't recall.
Oh. Do you recall how close to the car with the cracked windshield he got?
No.
Okay. But he never talked to Nicole about filing a report, did he?
No, he says, was everything all right? He said, I recall the police officer saying, who broke the window? And I said, I did. And he says, everything all right? And we said, yeah, and he left.
Okay. You didn't hear of any leaks to the media regarding this incident after that fact, did you?
No.
Okay. You didn't get any follow-up visits from police officers, did you?
There was no reason to.
With regard to the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day incident at Rockingham in 1989, I believe you indicated the police did not see fit to take Nicole to the hospital?
No.
They
That's
didn't?
when I came back home, she hadn't been to the hospital. So I
Okay.
assumed they didn't.
Okay. And when you left the house early that morning after Police Officer Edwards arrived, he didn't pursue you at all, did he?
Not that I know of.
And if you know, did he put out a radio call for backup or anything when you left there?
I have no idea what he did.
Okay. Were you ever arraigned on any charge in that case?
Yes, I believe, well, rain, I don't know, I ended up going to court.
Okay. Were you ever fingerprinted?
No.
Okay. Were you ever down in central booking?
No.
Were you ever handcuffed?
No.
Okay. And in fact, you indicated another detective came the next day who was checking on Edwards?
He came and he was interviewing about the incident. He didn't come the next day, he talked to me the next day. He asked about the incident. I guess he talked to Nicole and he talked to myself. He asked some questions about Detective Edwards. And I guess he said he'd put the report in. He was going to put it in.
Anything unprofessional about that visit that next day with you and Nicole?
Well, the night it was, but the next day it wasn't. Okay. The next day was on the telephone, so, it was whatever.
Right. And Ron Shep is an ex-Los Angeles Police Department officer, isn't he?
Yes.
And and you knew that prior to June 12th, 1994, when you were friends with him?
Yeah, I've known Ron for a number of years, yes.
Okay. And did you ever meet other Los Angeles Police Department members that he brought to your house?
When you say bring to my house, yes, they stopped out front. And if I was outside, I talked to them. Occasionally, they'll come in and have a Coke or Pepsi and leave, yes.
And you never had a fight or argument with any of these guys, did you?
No, they seem like all right guys.
Was there ever a time they asked you to contribute to something and you didn't?
I don't recall.
Do you recall them ever asking you to speak at or appear somewhere that you didn't?
I don't recall ever doing that for them, no.
Okay, is there anything at all that you can tell me about that would cause you to think prior to June 12, 1994, the Los Angeles Police Department had anything against O.J. Simpson?
As a department, no, but I've run into some police officers who were obviously problem police officers.
You told us about Police Officer Edwards on the morning of January 1, 1989. Could you relate any other incidents to me?
At least 5 times in my life, I've been stopped and taken out of my car. A year previous to, in '92, I believe it was, a cop stopped me on Cliffwood, and 2 cops stopped me. One had his gun out, and when I asked why they got their gun out on me, the guy just asked for my driver's license. I kept saying, "Why has this guy got a gun on me?"
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess they saw it was me, and so they wrote me a ticket, and I wasn't speeding. Yeah, like most black guys, I've been you know, stopped a few times until they saw it was me. And
But when they saw-
consequently, they then was okay.
Okay.
But they stopped me only because I was black and in a nice car. That's the only reason I was stopped.
But they always let you go because of who you were.
I don't know. Once they saw I hadn't stolen the car, I guess they let me go.
Okay. On June 13th, when you went down to the station with Lang and Van Adder, I think you indicated they were conscious of the fact that you were tired at that time,
Yes.
and I think you indicated they were actually concerned about getting you back home and getting the statement over with.
I don't think he indicated any concern whatsoever. He indicated what they said.
Did they state something to you to the effect, OJ, we just want to get this over with and get you back home?
Yeah, we just want to get this over with so you can go home.
Okay. And were they polite to you when you were down there?
I don't know. They were just, I guess, police officers, as far as I was concerned.
Doing their job?
As far as I was concerned, yes.
Okay. And Detective Furman wasn't with them during that statement you gave, was he?
Not that I recall. Other police officers were coming and going. I don't recall seeing him. But I wouldn't recognize who they were.
Okay. And to the best of your understanding, on June 17th, you were given the opportunity to surrender to the police, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and to the best of your understanding, did there come a time that police officers were sent to Kardashian's home?
I don't know.
Okay. But, as you understand it, your attorney, Mr. Shapiro, had reached an agreement with the LAPD for your surrender, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And as far as you know, prior to your surrender, the LAPD agreed not to send any officers to Kardashian's home, did they?
I don't know. I thought every time Shapiro said something to me, I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did Mr. Shapiro indicate to you that the LAPD knew where you were at that point?
Don't answer that.
Do you know whether the LAPD knew you were at Kardashian's on the morning of June 17th?
No.
When you were on the telephone in your Bronco the evening of June 17th, did you have any discussions with Detective Lang?
I don't know. I don't recall. I may have, but I just don't recall. I believe I might have, but
Do you recall the substance of any of those discussions?
No.
Do you recall talking to any police officers other than Lang?
If
I
you
don't
talked.
recall I don't know who I talked to. Lang may have been one of them, but I was kind of in a daze at that time.
Do you have any recollection of anything you said to any of these officers?
No.
Do you have any recollection of anything any of these officers said to you?
No.
Okay. Do you recall hearing AC indicate on the phone that he wanted to get you back to Rockingham?
No.
Do you recall driving back to Rockingham?
Yeah, I do kind of no, I don't know. I know AC at one point was yelling at somebody outside of the car. And I think when he was yelling at someone outside the car, he said, "I'm taking him home."
But for the couple hours on the interstate, that was 405, wasn't it?
I don't know. I was laying in the back, so I have absolutely no idea where he was.
Okay. Did you ever indicate to AC that you wanted to get back to Rockingham?
Yes.
Okay. And you eventually got back to Rockingham, did you
Yes,
not?
yes.
Okay. The police didn't stop you at any time before you got to Rockingham, did they?
No.
Okay. And in fact, when you got back to Rockingham, they allowed you to leave the Bronco and enter the front door of Rockingham, did they not too?
Yes.
Okay, could you tell me what your actions were after you got in the front door at Rockingham on the 17th?
I think I just went and sat in a chair, and they talked to me. I can't recall what they talked to me about.
Okay, did you make any phone calls?
I don't recall.
Okay, could you recall at what point they put handcuffs on you?
No,
When you were sitting in that chair, did you have handcuffs on?
I don't recall.
Do you recall making any phone calls before they put handcuffs on you?
I don't recall.
Do you recall being frisked in the house?
I don't recall.
Was there anything discourteous or unprofessional the way you were treated at Rockingham the night of the 17th when you got back there?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Now, Mr. Simpson, I believe you played 2 years of junior college ball, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then you had 2 years at USC?
Yes.
Okay, and what position did you play at USC?
Tailback.
Tailback. And were there times that you were on the receiving end of passes?
Yes.
Okay, flare passes?
Yes.
I
Screens?
have no
Yes.
clue what this is leading to. You're going to have to tell me because we're not going into his football career here.
Okay. Did you ever drop a pass that hit you in the hands, Mr. Simpson?
He didn't drop the glove, Mr.
In a game, I never recall dropping a pass.
No?
In a game, I never recall
He
dropping a
was
pass.
never coached to fumble.
Did you ever fumble, Mr. Simpson?
I'm sure I did, but I wouldn't consider it a fumbler.
But you wouldn't consider it a what?
You know, some players have reputations of being fumblers. I don't think I was ever considered a fumbler.
Okay, but did you ever fumble in your years with Buffalo?
Oh, yeah. I've been hit a few times and gave up the ghost, as they say.
Okay. Did you ever run into players on the sidelines when you were forced to the sideline?
I may have.
Sorry, did you ever?
Run into players when you were
I'd like to
forced
think I was
the
knocked into players, yes.
Okay. Did you ever get knocked into walls?
Into what?
Walls
Yes.
during your playing days?
Yes.
Benches?
Yes.
Down markers?
Yes.
Officials?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember when you were making your infomercial, making the statement that it was ridiculous to think you could have dropped the glove back there because you've spent your whole life avoiding players and things and not fumbling?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think I'd fumble. I fumbled because 11 guys were grabbing at me and hitting me. It's a little different, I think. Yes.
Okay. And you play golf also now, don't you?
Yes.
Favorite sport now?
Yes.
Okay, and you start playing in the late 80s?
Yes.
Okay. And you have a better than average handicap?
Today, no.
Well, as of June 12th, 1994.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And you play right-handed?
Yes.
Okay. And I assume you always wear a golf glove when you play?
Not always, but most of the time, yes.
Well, on June 11th, when you played it, I assume you played at Riviera on the 11th?
Yes.
Did you wear a golf glove that day?
Sometimes some clubs I have I don't wear gloves, so but I would have worn a glove during the course of that round. Yes.
Okay. Other than the putter, is there a particular club you don't wear a glove with?
Mostly par threes.
Okay. Short irons?
Short irons, bigger grip.
Okay. By the way, your Callaway clubs, do they have a special grip made for you?
When they sent them to me, yes.
Okay.
I changed it at some point, but they sent me those well, yes.
Okay. Were those oversized grips?
They put on, when they sent them to me in May, they sent them to me with what they call arthritic grips,
Which were?
real big grips.
Okay. Do you know the approximate diameter of those grips?
No, but I think that the name of them are arthritic. I mean, I think they call them arthritic grips, and that's the way they were sent to me from Callaway.
Okay. Did you play? You played golf Sunday too on June 12th? Did you not?
Yes.
Did you wear a golf glove that day?
During the course of the day, yes.
Okay. Other than on the par threes, can you think of a time when you were playing that you didn't have your glove on?
No.
Okay. And when you sent that bag off to Chicago the night of June 12th, was there one or more golf clubs in the bag even?
I hope so.
Okay. And I think you indicated you were an extra large?
Depending on the glove, as you know, you're a golfer. Some gloves I need double XL. Some gloves I can wear large. If they stretch, they just don't last long because they tear.
Okay. And those snap over your wrist?
Yeah.
Okay. And generally golf gloves are soft leather?
Yes.
And as you stated yourself, that you can stretch them over your hand to fit, can you not?
Yes.
Okay. And I think when you, in giving your statement to the police on June 13th, 1994, you indicated that you would get nicks and things on your hands playing golf. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Do you recall ever getting a nick or cut on your left hand with the golf glove on it anytime June 11th or June 12th?
No.
Okay. And had you played golf previous occasions that same week?
Yes.
Okay, what days were they?
Every day.
Okay, and it's your usual practice, I assume you wore a golf glove, except
Yes.
for par threes?
Yes.
Okay, and that was always on your left hand, was it not?
Yes.
Take a break?
Sure.
Okay.
Going off the record now.
Mr. Simpson, I'm going to just generally ask you about several people who I think are close to you in terms of friendship and the like, and we can just discuss them briefly. With regard to Skip Taft,
Yes.
how many years approximately have you known him?
25 maybe.
Okay. And do you have a professional relationship with him?
Yes, he's my lawyer, what I call my family lawyer, an advisor, basically.
Okay, is he a business manager, so to speak?
You can say that, yes.
Okay, and as of June 12th, 1994, he had a general power of attorney from you, did he not?
Possibly. I'm not 100% sure, but possibly.
Okay, would he enter into any contractual obligations for you or on your behalf without consulting you?
Without consulting me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Does that hold true also for after June 12th, 1994?
He may have without consulting me after June 12th, yes.
Okay, had you changed the power of attorney he had in any way?
Yes.
Okay. Now, was he the business manager for Simpson Enterprises?
Basically, yes.
Okay. And he would take care of all your personal type matters in terms of residence bills and things like that also?
They would go across his desk, yes.
Okay. And say you'd mentioned heating repair bills back a couple years. You indicated he would have them in his possession?
I don't think
I'm
you
totally
indicated.
lost. What you're
Well,
talking about.
when Mr. Petrocelli was taking your deposition, he was asking you about heating repairs that may have been done on your house in the last 3 years prior to June 12th, 1994. Do you recall that?
I think it's something about me going to the back, lighting the pilot and stuff for my heaters.
Yeah. And you indicated to check with someone regarding bills going back 3 years. Was that
I mean, if there's bills, I don't think I charge myself for lighting my heater, but if there are bills,
I wasn't
they
asking
would
you
go
about
through his
billing
office.
yourself, Mr. Simpson.
yeah, if there are bills concerning changing heaters or major bills, they would have gone through Skip's office, yes.
Okay, does he actually write the check for the utility bills and the like?
I think we had an accountant come through, and she probably wrote it. He may have signed them. Yes.
Okay, but he keeps records of all those
I believe.
home, I'm sorry.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, so say for 1991, he would have records of all your heating bills that had been paid.
Don't speculate on what records he's got if you haven't
No.
seen them.
If you know,
I don't know.
would those go to his office?
In '91, if I had bills, they would have gone through his office. Yes.
Would electric bills have gone through his office?
I believe so.
Would phone bills have gone through his office?
I believe so.
What about pool service bills?
I believe so.
Tennis court maintenance?
I believe so.
And do you know whether or not he kept permanent records of those bills that went through his office?
No.
Okay. Now, Kathy Randa, how long have you known her for?
About 20 years.
Okay. And has she worked for you for 20 years?
The majority of the 20 years, yes.
Okay. In what capacity?
An assistant.
Okay, it's Simpson Enterprises?
Yes.
Is that who she was an employee of?
Orenthal Productions, Simpson Enterprises, yes.
Okay. Was there any substantial period of time she took a leave from that employment?
What is substantial?
Oh, more than 3 weeks?
Yes.
More than a month?
I believe so.
And for what purpose?
Medical purposes.
Okay. Now,
But I still paid her, you know, so she just wasn't able to be in the office and stuff.
okay, do you recall what the medical condition was?
Don't answer that. She's
Yes,
entitled
sir.
to privacy.
A.C. Collins.
Yes,
Okay, how long have you been, that's a childhood friend?
yes,
Okay, would it be fair to say as of June 12, 1994, he was one of your closest friends?
yes.
Okay. Jonah Wilson, how long had you known him for prior to June 12, 1994?
Maybe 15 years. That's a guess, but maybe 15 years.
Was he basically Arnell's close friend?
Yes,
He wasn't a close friend of yours?
he's my friend of my kids.
Okay. Marcus Allen, how long had you been friends with him for?
I'm trying to think when he went to SC. 17, I mean, to the day, you mean? 17
Well,
years.
he would have been
maybe.
there in the late 70s, wouldn't he, USC?
When did we with the SC? And I can't, yeah, it would have been the late 70s.
Well, you left in 69?
Pardon me?
You left there in 69,
I left
didn't
in
you?
69,
He was 10 years behind you?
at least, yeah.
Okay. All right, would you have considered him, as of June 12, 1994, one of your closest friends?
Yes.
Okay. What about Tawny Catane? Would you have considered her one of your closest friends as of June 12, 1994?
Closest, no, but friend, yes.
Okay. And I think you indicated she was Kathy Randa's best friend?
For a while, for sure, yes.
Okay. By the way, how far did Tawny Catane live from your Rockingham residence in terms of miles
I don't know. When?
as of June 12, 1994?
It depends. I think she was living between Newport Beach and Hollywood, so whatever Hollywood would be.
Okay. She was in a 310 area code as far as you know?
Yes.
Okay. Now, prior to June 12, 1994, did you consider Cora Fishman a close friend of yours?
No.
Okay, how long had you known her for?
As of what?
As of June 12, 1994.
4 or 5 years.
Okay. And what about Ron Fishman? Had you known him 4 or 5 years also?
Yes.
And how would you come to befriend Ron and Cora Fishman?
It had to do with Nicole and the kids.
Okay. In fact, would it be fair to say that prior to June 12, 1994, Sydney was best friend with Cora's daughter?
Yes.
Okay. And that friendship has continued since June 12, 1994, has it not?
Yes.
Okay. And did you know C.C. Shahan at all?
Yeah, I met her, yes.
Okay. You had no friendship with her, though, yourself?
No.
Never called her on the phone?
No.
Okay.
I may have when her father was dying. But
Okay. What about Robin Greer? Did you have any sort of friendship with her?
no, she was married to a friend of mine and years ago. And I think they'd come by, you know, I used to have a lot of people over on weekends playing tennis. And then she was my ex-wife's sister's friend, so I knew her when she was an early teen,
Okay.
but not a friend of mine, no.
Did you know C.C. Shahan is a close friend of Nicole's in the last year or two prior to June 12, 1994?
She was a girl that was around. I don't know how close they were, but she was around. I'd see her around.
Okay. What about Robin Greer? Did you know her as a close friend of Nicole's in the 2 years prior to June 12, 1994?
I remember she was helping Nicole get a close friend, no, but I wouldn't socialize with her, so
Okay.
I don't know. But I would say no, not in the year I was back with her. I know when Nicole went out, she may have seen her from time to time, and I think once even spend the night at Nicole's house, but she wasn't a girl Nicole hung out with, no.
Okay. What about Candace Garvey?
Never hung out with Candace Garvey.
she wasn't friends with her?
She knew him. You know, you see him at church, and maybe Candace was a friend of Chris Jenner's, but Candace is not what I would call a friend of Nicole's, no.
Okay, what about Kris Jenner?
Yes.
Was she a close friend of Nicole's?
A friend, yes.
A close friend.
A friend,
Okay.
I'd say.
So, the best of your knowledge, CeCe Shaheen was not a close friend of Nicole's.
No, she was around. I guess that when she was around Nicole, Nicole wasn't with me. And when Nicole and I came back together, I would see CeCe around, but I think Nicole, I thought, had a falling out with her at some point.
Okay.
And then I never saw her around after that.
In fact, you indicated that you thought Nicole had a falling out with Linda Schulman also?
Oh, I know. That's no secret with anybody.
Okay,
Nicole
okay.
wouldn't talk to her for the last 4 years.
4 years?
3 or 4 years, whenever my kids, Sydney was starting school.
Okay.
From that point on, Nicole
And as far
did
as
not
you...
speak to Linda Shulman.
Okay.
And hasn't, as far as I know, and as far as I'm sure the Browns have told you,
Told me what?
that Nicole would not speak to Linda Shulman.
Okay. And as far as you know, Robin Grier wasn't a close friend of Nicole's.
No, I think when she went out, Robin was around. I know Nicole mentioned to me in '94 that Robin had a relapse or something, a drug relapse, I believe,
Okay, and you
something to that effect.
And you know Candace Garvey wasn't a close
I
friend.
know that. I know that for a fact.
Okay. And
I was
Kris,
an acquaintance at best.
and Kris Jenner wasn't a close friend.
Kris Jenner was a friend,
Okay. What about Cora Fishman?
her best friend.
Close friend.
Nicole's
Yep.
her best friend.
Okay. So other than all these people we just discussed, the only close friend you know of Nicole's was Cora Fishman as of June
Yeah,
12, 1994.
And Chris, yes, was a friend. I don't know if they went out much, but Chris was a friend. I know she knew Chris longer than any of these people, but they were friendly because of Bob and I being friendly in the past. Nicole didn't really socialize with her away from that. And I think Nicole may have socialized with Chris more when Nicole and I split.
Okay, well, I mean, Nicole was a rather social person, wasn't she?
Not with girls, no, that just started recently. She would always have a best friend, and she would always have one best friend. And
What was her best friend before? It's your testimony Cora was her best friend?
Oh, at her, during the last 4 years of her life, Cora was definitely her best friend.
And who was her best friend prior to Cora, if you know?
I would think Linda Shulman for a while, for a couple of years, and then for about 7 or 8 years, Susie Keel.
Okay. As of June 12, 1994, other than Cora Fishman, could you tell me any other close friends Nicole had?
When I came back into her life as of June 4th, I would say Faye was considered a friend. That said, when we first got back there, CeCe was around, and all of a sudden I never saw CeCe around for probably all of '94. Cora was the one I saw all the time with her.
By the way, you still see Cora all the time, don't you?
All the time, no.
Often.
Basically when my kids are around.
Okay. Have you taken any family trips with her and her children since October 3rd, 1995?
No, her kids have come with me on trips, yes.
Okay. Cora didn't go along?
No.
Okay.
I think she brought her daughter to Santa Barbara once when I was staying with the Steinmans up there. She brought her daughter up.
Okay. Getting back to what I think was a question I was asking, could you tell me, other than Cora, any other close friends Nicole had as of June 12, 1994?
I didn't know who she was hanging out with, so I can't tell you. I would see her with Cora. Obviously, Faye and Christian when we went out, we'd have dinner with them. Outside of that, I'm sure that people. When she went out, I know they went out with the girls. So since I never saw them out as a group ever, so I have no idea who the girls were. Even though I know Robin sometimes was involved, I don't think Kris Jenner was involved in the going out portion. I think some old friends of ours, Victoria, what's Victoria's, Gordon White's with ex-wife, a wife he's passed, would join them. I think a girl named Mariana used to go out with Reggie McKenzie. I saw her a week before, and she said something about her and Nicole were friends again or something. But I never saw Nicole when she went out, and when she didn't go out, she was with me. And when I was around, the only people I would see would be the fishermen and sometime Faye and Christian. And of course the Jenners if they went on a trip with us.
Mr. Simpson, and this will all be regarding June of 1994 now. I'm just going to ask you some questions about phones and phone numbers.
Okay.
Could you tell me what the phone number was, or phone numbers were at your Rockingham residence?
I don't recall.
Okay, was it 310-476-4619?
That sounds right.
Okay, and I'm going to ask all these as of June 12, 1994. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
Did you have more than one number at that time?
I don't think so.
Do you know whether you had rollover capability at that number?
I may have, but I don't know.
Okay, did you have any outside phones on your Rockingham residence?
What do you mean?
Well, did you have a phone jack, say, at your cabana?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a phone jack near your tennis court?
Well, the cabana and the tennis court are together.
Okay. Did you have a phone jack on any outside terraces?
No.
Okay. With Simpson Enterprises, do you recall the phone number there?
I think it was 820-5702.
Could you tell me what number was 310-207-0708?
Say it again.
Area code 310-207-0708.
No.
And what was this Simpson Enterprises number again?
820-5702.
And was there a cellular phone listed to Simpson Enterprises?
Yes.
Do you recall that number?
No.
Would it have been area code 213-712-9836?
Doesn't sound like my phone, no.
There was the cellular phone registered to Simpson Enterprises, though.
I don't know. I don't know what my phone was registered to.
But there was a cellular phone that you used or had access to other than the one you always carried with you and had with you in Chicago on June 13th, was there not?
I don't think so.
Does this phone number, and I'll state again, mean anything to you at this time as you sit there? Area code 213-712-8836.
No.
Any? Okay. Do you know whether Kathy Randa had a cellular phone?
She did. I mean, she had a car phone.
Okay. Do you know the number now?
No, I don't recall it now, but I don't think that was it.
No? Okay. And your cellular phone was 310-613-3232?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, when you got to O'Hare Airport on the morning of June 13th, 1994, did you make any calls from a payphone there?
I don't believe so.
And did Arnell have a separate phone number where she stayed at Rockingham?
I believe so, yes.
And did Cato have a separate number where he stayed at Rockingham?
Yes.
You've testified earlier as to a number of calls you either made or received when you're at the Plaza Hotel the morning of June 12th, 1994, correct?
Yes.
Okay, could you tell me when you made your first phone call after leaving your room in the Plaza Hotel?
I believe it was when I was downstairs looking or waiting for a cab and waiting for the Hertz guy to arrive.
That's Merrill from Hertz?
Pardon me?
Merrill?
Yes, I believe
Okay.
so.
Is he the one that took you to the airport, by the way?
No,
Okay. He never arrived, did he?
no.
Did you ever speak to him?
The next day.
Okay. But not on the 13th?
Well, I spoke to him a number of times on the 13th. Yeah, a number of times.
Before you left the Plaza?
Before I left my room, yes.
Okay. Do you recall who you called on your first cellular call after you left your hotel room?
No. May have been Merle, but I don't really recall.
Okay. And you just took a regular cab to the airport from the plaza?
Can we talk about this?
We've been over this in detail.
I'm leaving it. I'm just...
Just answer that
No.
question.
Okay.
Get very covetous of those things.
Did you talk to anybody other than Denise Brown when you called her that morning?
The first call?
Yeah.
No.
I'm going, wait. By the way, did you have as of June 17th, 1994, have a safety deposit box?
Yes.
Okay, was there anybody other than you who had access to that?
Maybe Skip Taft.
Okay. Could you tell me what you kept in there?
You don't have to tell him that.
Did you keep any currency in there?
You don't have to tell him that.
Any instruction not to answer?
Yes.
Do you, yes. What? Do you know how many times you called Cato before you left Chicago on the 13th?
I don't know if I did call Cato before I left, but I wouldn't know how many times. I know I never got him.
Okay. Do you know how many times approximately you called Kathy Randa before you arrived back in Los Angeles?
No, I know I kept trying and kept getting disconnected or machines and stuff, but no. I
Well,
don't.
did you ever have any conversations with her before you got back to Los Angeles?
Yes, I believe so.
More than one?
I believe so.
Would it be fair to say you talked to her for approximately 20 minutes?
It
Total?
could have been. It could have been. I don't know.
Okay. And you made a number of phone calls to Skip Taft?
I believe so.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that you spoke to him for approximately 20 minutes total before you got back to L.A.?
I don't know.
Okay. But you spoke to him more than once?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Now, do you know where Jonah Wilson's office is located?
I didn't know he had an office.
Okay. Do you know where his home is located?
No.
Do you remember calling him the morning of June 13th from your American Airlines flight?
No.
No,
I
right.
may have. Wherever Arnell was, I know I was looking for Arnell.
Okay.
And,
Did you find Arnell?
I think I did, but I just don't recall. I know I talked to her earlier. You know, I talked to her when I found out. I think I talked to her one time after that, but I just don't recall.
Okay. Do you know any reason why you would have had two approximately 5-minute phone calls with Jonah Wilson for any reason?
If I talked to him for 5 minutes, it would have been Arnell, or seeing that he would take care of Arnell, because Arnell was in a bad way. But I don't recall having a 5-minute phone call with Jonah. No,
Do you remember having a 5-minute, one or more 5-minute phone calls with Arnell?
I don't recall.
And therefore you recall none of the details of any conversation you had with her?
I'm sure it was all about how she was feeling and how I was feeling and the kids. If we spoke, that would have been the topic.
Okay, so you wouldn't have discussed anything about June 12th, 1994, the evening, would you have?
No.
Okay. And you wouldn't have discussed anything about what the police may have been doing at your house at Rockingham in those discussions either, would you?
I don't think so, but if the police were there, I may have asked, but I don't think so.
Okay. Did you ever actually speak to Marcus Allen when you were on your flight coming back to Los Angeles?
No.
Okay. Did you speak to someone at his house?
I don't recall.
You never spoke to Howard Weitzman before you got back to the Rockingham residence on June 13th, did you?
You can just answer that yes or no.
No.
Okay. Was Howard Weitzman at your residence at Rockingham when you arrived home on June 13th, 1994?
At some point when I was home, I saw Howard, yes.
Okay. And was Howard Weitzman the attorney who had represented you after the New Year's Day 1989 incident?
That's correct.
Okay. And I think you indicated earlier with the phone calls you made on the way back to LA, you were trying to get people to get by Bundy and Rockingham and help out, is that correct?
No.
Do you recall making any calls to any friend of Nicole's between the time you left the Plaza Hotel in Chicago and you arrived back in Rockingham that afternoon?
Yes.
And who was that?
My daughter,
Okay.
AC, Skip, Marcus Allen. The people I call.
Okay. Did you make any calls to Paula Barbieri?
I may have, but I don't think so.
Okay. Do you recall ever speaking to her?
I didn't.
Could you tell me the subject matter of the conversations you had with Kathy Randa when you got her on the phone before getting back to Los Angeles?
Getting back to LA.
Just the arrangements about getting you back?
Yeah, and we may have commiserated. We may have commiserated.
Anything other than that?
No.
Did you call any neighbors of Nicole's before you got back to Rockingham that day?
I don't know any of her neighbors.
Okay. Did you give any detective or anybody the Browns' phone number when you spoke to them?
I may have. If they asked, I would have given it to them.
Okay.